सबको मेरा नमस्कार. And we are going to start a session, a keynote address by Professor C.K. Raju, and who did his BSc honors in physics and also MS in mathematics from Mumbai University, I guess. And he obtained a PhD from the Indian Statistical Institute of Kolkata. Basically, he has spent a lot of time, I think, PhD period in this, whatever I could manage to see from his CV. And he initially taught and researched in the formal mathematics and application to the general relativity and quantum field theory for several years. And later, he joined the CDAC to play a key role building the first Indian supercomputer Param. All of you might be aware that it's a great achievement for our country. And he was responsible for porting the application of national importance, namely space and oil, and that experience led him to abandon the formal mathematics. Although he was having a lot of interest in mathematics, but work in the supercomputer made him not to get time most probably. But however, his contribution in mathematics is enormous, whatever I have gleaned through, but I have not read, but I have gleaned through that. And he is in Cultural Foundation of Mathematics, in his book, I think, he proposed a new realistic philosophy of math called Zeroism and compiled evidence for the origin and development of calculus in India and its transmission to Europe. Generally, a lot of people think that calculus is from outside country. It is basically from our country, and what he has tried to look at it. And I would also request Professor Raju, if I interpret little differently, you may correct and you can also pardon me. Okay. So, is it okay? Yeah. And he has really, several books he has written, like Is Science Western in Origin? That is a book name. And Ending Academic Imperialism. That is another book. Euclid and Jesus, like Euclidean geometry, if you look at, and Jesus. So a lot of things he has done, and he is a very internationally recognized person on mathematics, pertaining to the ancient India. And he has long been a professor in various departments, including mathematics in University of India and abroad. And he is an honorary professor of the Indian Institute of Education and emeritus professor, CGT University, was a Tagore Fellow at the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Simla, and several others. I will just cut that. And he has received numerous honors and awards, including the TG Award in Hungary 2010 for connecting Einstein's mistake. Correcting the Einstein mistake, and fellowship of the Institute of Complex Thought of Lima, and Bharatiya Dharovar Award and MP Ratna, and several others. I think I will cursor his CV. It is quite and his achievement is enormous. And I must tell you that there is a Peacock of Mathematics book, and one of the author, he has already challenged and he owned the thing, what I have read from the internet. And I'm really proud. I feel privileged that we introduce him. And we are very much grateful to Professor C.K. Raju, who, in spite of his busy schedule, he has taken the time and to join this international conference on Bharatiya traditional knowledge. And he was supposed to, he had told me to come, but due to some reason he couldn't make it. But still, he has given us time. We are grateful to him. And now over to Professor C.K. Raju to deliver today's keynote address. Thank you very much. Over to Professor Raju.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. And I would really have liked to come. Just that I would like to share the screen. And where is the share screen gone? Okay, okay. Here is one thing that I would like to share. Okay, so are you able to see the screen? Yes or no?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
It is
Thank you.
visible.
Okay, so let me start with, see, we are all very enthusiastic about Bharatiya traditional knowledge. But the UGC has come up with some recommendations which are a little bit disturbing. So let me tell you about them. And let me, I mean, these guidelines are online. They, whatever is in blue, there is a link which you can watch. I will put this up online. And this has been reported in the newspapers also. And there are several lacunae. And particularly, I would like to take up three recommendations. One is about Vedic mathematics. The other is about Vedic astrology. And the third is about Kerala calculus. Okay. So there is widespread confusion regarding traditional knowledge, traditional Indian knowledge throughout the world. So recently I visited Australia and the Indian community invited me to speak on Bharatiya Ganita and the Indian calendar. I had suggested some other topic, but this is what they wanted to hear. Now, see, Bharatiya Ganita sounds a little bit odd. Is there any other kind of Ganita? Or does the word phrase Bharatiya mean that no other nationality should use it? It's only for Bharatiya people. See, if you just say Ganit, the problem is that you are forced to acknowledge that Ganit is not the same as mathematics. This is a common translation. This is the translation that you will find in NCERT books. But it is not the same. It's a very fundamental difference. So, Ganit accepts empirical proofs, pratyaksh praman, as do all systems of Indian philosophy without exception. But Western math prohibits the empirical. So we are mentioning Euclid. So the reason to talk about Euclid is that when the Euclid book first came to Europe during the Crusades were a religious war. So you can imagine that there was a whole lot of fanaticism there. And the book was falsely interpreted as containing axiomatic proofs. Why do I say falsely interpreted? Because the book is there in front of your eyes. You can lie about history, but the book is in front of your eyes. Open it, read it. There is not a single axiomatic proof in it. It's a complete lie. So you see, this is what the church does when it took over colonial education. It can propagate such a complete lie, and it propagated it in Europe for from 1125 till about 1900. Then they started realizing, Bertrand Russell and others, that there are no axiomatic proofs. But this method of he accepted this as the best way to teach math. And in the language of the current class 9 NCERT math text, beware of being deceived by what you see. So this is, okay, the link is taking a lot of time. So I will never mind. You just open the text. You just open the text. It's available online and see on page 301. Now, Ganit accepts pratyaksh praman. This is clear in the Nyaya Sutra 2. The Nyaya Sutra 2, this I think I should show you, is just says this is what it is. Pratyaksh, Anuman, Upman, Shabda, Pramanani. All right. So Pratyaksh, Anuman, Upman, Shabd, these are the means of Praman, means of proof. And if you want examples from Indian Ganit, they are there in this slide. So Pratyaksh, if you see in Aryabhatiya Ganit 13, you decide verticality from a plumb line, horizontality by means of water level, and you find that in the Indian proof of the Pythagorean theorem. It is done in, so you have, it is about squares. You make one square, make a smaller square, and cut it and rotate it. So when you cut it and rotate it, you are using an empirical proof because you see what is happening. And you see that the two squares the square on the diagonal is equal to the sum of the squares on the sides. All right. So there are many other examples. I mean, Anuma, particularly, maybe I should talk about inference. So in goal 6, the inference is that the earth is round. It is the sphere. And this is inferred by reasoning from the fact that far off trees cannot be seen. It's inference. So to say that there is no inference, there is no deduction, completely false. But this is the kind of falsehood that is being already taught in NCERT texts. All right. So this means of proof inference deduction is there. This was explained long ago in my Hawaii article, particularly the fact that the empirical is banned. Right? The empirical is banned. So this is the first sentence that I would just like to read out. Current formal mathematics being divorced from the empirical is a social construct. All right. It's a paper is available online. It's a long time back. And then I gave this, there is explained in several videos about Indian notion of proof. I talked about in IIS Shimla on Ganit versus math and on the issue of practical Ganit versus religious mathematics. So this is the, this link is taking a very long time to open. So I think I will just leave it because I will not be able to. So this is a talk that I gave in Vivekananda International Foundation. And this is the whole issue, that method of proof that we learn is a religious method, which prohibits facts, which is not prohibited in Ganit. Ganit accepts it. So we have to understand these differences of philosophy. Such violent differences of philosophy, especially if we are talking about traditional knowledge, that is the traditional philosophy. Every school of philosophy in India accepts Pratyaksh Praman. And if you want to try and teach it without the discrimination between Ganit and mathematics, then you are doing something, I don't know what. It has nothing to do with traditional knowledge. So what happens if you teach that? Then you have to deviate from the existing colonized math course, such you have to teach calculus differently, you have to teach arithmetic differently, you have to teach geometry differently. And the point is that apart from Hindu dharam, there is also the other dharam of colonial superstition, that you must ape what the West does, to the point of wearing suits in the Delhi summer. It is Delhi summer now. It's extremely hot and uncomfortable. Now, why do you need a suit and a bow tie? And this is what we do. We turn into apes because we do that. It is not a reasonable thing to do. We need to apply discrimination. So this is little bad that UGC wants to promote tradition without entering into a conflict with the existing colonial tradition. But this is an impossible proposition. Okay, I mean, even if you take Ayurveda, for example, it is going to come into conflict with Western medicine. So you have to choose between the two. Something may be good there, something may be good here, but what is it? You have to specify. So this is an open invitation. So yeah, you are encouraging people to make fun of you. Because because there are things which are completely it's de facto rejected as useless. Who is teaching the other superstition that blacks are inferior? They're all connected. They're all connected, but I can't go into that. So they are so inferior that you don't even dare to discuss it openly. I've had several meetings at Delhi University and so on, IIT conference, so on. There's a big problem. We are afraid to discuss it to arrive at a solution. All right, now let me come to the issue of Vedic math. So we saw that there are universities like Hari Singh God University, Sagar, which has already introduced Vedic math courses in the syllabus. But Vedic math has got nothing to do with the Ved. Now, everybody agrees with that, including the book, original Vedic math book. It says on its opening page, and again on page 35, which is now page 29 in the bottom of the newer reprint, which is available on archive. That link is to the archive version. So obviously, these formulae are not to be found in the present essentials of the Atharva Ved. It says, it's using the word in a different sense. Vedic does not mean it is found in the Ved. Who admits it? So I have also written a lot on it. So there is this newspaper article in Hindu which came, nothing Vedic in Vedic math and so on. Then in Jan Satta, Vedic Ganit mein Vedic kuch nahi. And then there are the responses on this blog. response to Vedic mathematics comments. Yeah, so all this and lots of people wrote something and I have responded to that. I'll come back to that. Because even Atul Kothari and Dinanath Batra, who are working on this, they admit that Vedic mathematics is not found in the Veda. It is true. So in what sense is it Vedic? So they have a problem. The point is, when you do that, you hide the real math that is found in the Veda. For example, a very important issue. What is found in the Yajurveda? You find just large numbers up to Parad 10 to the power 12. You find in the Akshasukta of the Rig Veda, I won't get into that, you find the theory of probability. It's the game of dice. And I've written about that in Probability in Ancient India. Take a look. So by talking about wrong things, you hide the reality. And there is no mention of the above in the Vedic math book. None of the above. So real math in the Veda is not in the Vedic math, and Vedic math is not in the Veda. And the authentic tradition of Indian Ganit is what is being sought to be replaced. So again, to reiterate, Ganit is not a synonym for math. You can see, take a look at my article, Ganit Banam Mathematics. All right, so it's misleading. And doing that in the name of the Ved is a disservice to Hinduism. All right, I think it is bad for Hinduism because the Ved is your proof for everything. And if you start telling lies in the name of the Ved, that is not a very happy state of affairs. And then people say all knowledge is in the Ved. All knowledge is not in the Ved. Is there a manual for car repair? And then they say it is ancient, hence it's Vedic. But the ancient times, there were many people, many schools, Buddhists, Lokayat, they rejected the Ved. Very abusive language. All right. Ved is written by people with, it's full of falsehood, they are truth, contradictory, and so on. And so the three authors of the Ved were buffoons. And so this is what the Lokayat used to say. You can't say this is Vedic, just to sell some Vedic math. So anyway, there is no evidence that Vedic math is ancient. We got it from Swami Bharti Krishna Tirth, and it is not found in any Vedic Parishishta. Now, let me be clear. Let us be fair to both sides. Swami Bharti Krishna Tirth was undoubtedly a patriot and a freedom fighter. He was prosecuted by the British. All right. So his intentions were entirely honorable. But I would even say it is not necessary that the people who are promoting it or opposed to it, they are being honorable. All right. He was an honorable man. There is no question about it. But he was ill-informed that he was replacing an imported tradition of arithmetic by Indian tradition. So it's our duty to correct it. Arithmetic as currently taught is of Indian origin. The thing we teach in school, the algorithms we teach in school for addition, subtraction, division, and so on. And it went from India to Europe and was returned as part of colonial education. So what is wrong with Vedic math is that it wrongly seeks to replace real Indian Ganit by using a fake marketing label Vedic. It is our Indian Ganit, which we are teaching as part of colonial education because the Europe learned it from us. So anyway, so it's a trick of mental calculation. I'll skip that. I want to try and keep to time. The point is that it damages the Indian tradition, the authentic Indian tradition of Ganit by suggesting that there is something different. Now, the point is that colonialism taught us to ape the whites, and we are easily fooled by the false label Vedic. Anyway, let me skip this. The point I'm making is that Greco-Roman calculus or the arithmetic revolution. What is this calculus you are talking about? This is not Kerala calculus. Calculus means pebbles. Okay. The Greeks and Romans learned arithmetic from India. The numbers are same as the names for small numbers are the same as the names for small numbers in Sanskrit, whether in Greek or in Latin. This is well known. It is known since a long time. All right. So but only for small numbers, not for large numbers. Why? Because they learned it from Persians. And they say that it is because Aryans invaded India, but there is no proof of that. And I'll give you a quick argument. All right, and they say that they drove Dravidians and so on. And DMK won on this fantasy of Dravidians because opposition party is also Dravidian. So the ultimate insult is that the Ved were created by the Aryans. Now, my simple and decisive answer to this 250-year-old fantasy is the church rules by fantasy. This is a fantasy which was erected specifically to rule India. What is this simple answer to the fantasy which nobody has answered, which I'm very surprised. So many people against the Aryan race, but they don't notice the simple fact in mathematics. So if you look at the number names of the Greeks, they stopped at myriad. And they did not have like myriad stars and so on. I won't give you, it's just 10,000 myriad. All right, they did not have names, larger numbers, but we had. All right. And we see that in the Yajurveda. So let me show you this thing from Yajurveda. So it's just this. What is this is not in Vedic Sanskrit. I have simplified Sanskrit. So ekacha, dashacha, dashacha, shatamcha, and so on. That's all. Just numbers 1 to parar. That's all that there is to it. And that is there in the Yajurveda. And then, not only there in the Yajurveda, you find it in Lalit Vista Sut, you find numbers till 10 raised to 53, Talakshan, and you find till 10 raised to 108. So, now if you find such large numbers, and these Greeks did not have numbers beyond 10,000, how could they have written it? Complete nonsense. All right, so this is the kind of complete nonsense that has been fantasized. But nobody noticed it because we study only our own tradition. We don't study the Purva Paksh. We should study the opponent's tradition. We should study the Purva Paksh. Now, the question I would like to ask is, why were Romans and Greeks so backward in math? You hear stories of Archimedes and Euclid.
I think internet.
I have offered a prize of 2 lakh rupees. If you can show me one piece of evidence, you won't show it, but you'll say anybody who denies Pythagoras is something wrong. So anyway, they used to use pebbles. They had pebble arithmetic. Gitti Ganita, I like to call it. That was the calculus they did. So these pebbles, they obviously, you can't have a large number of them because it's difficult to collect them. And we know that they learned from this kind of arithmetic from the Persians because we have this Darius Vas, which is there from the time the Persians conquered them and they had to pay tax. So to pay tax, they had to learn calculation according to the Persian method, which was similar to the Indian method. So they didn't have, and I'll skip this. I've done this elsewhere. Let me skip this. You can't write large numbers. It's very difficult. It's very inefficient. The Greek and Roman system and Indian system, which you saw in the Yajurveda, is the place value system. Eka, dasha, shata, right? It is place value system. Every place increases by factor of 10. So it's very easy to do large numbers. All right. So the point I'm making is not only they did not know, they were very dumb, very slow on the uptake. They took 1,000 years to understand this. 1,000 years from the 10th century to the 19th century. The smartest of them, your Descartes and your Euler and your De Morgan and all the big names you can think of, they were involved in this stupidity. But we don't talk about that. Why not? Let's talk about it. It's important to expose to destroy the Purva Paksh. Okay, so how did it go? We know the story. It went to Baghdad from India and Al-Khwarizmi wrote Hisab al-Hind, and that is why we call them algorithms, because his Latin name was Algorithmus. From there, it went to the Umayyad Khilafat in Spain. And from there, the Pope Gerbert, he heard of it, he learned it from Spain and Morocco, but failed to understand it. He constructed an abacus, 27-column abacus, which destroyed the efficiency of Indian Ganit. This is what the Pope did. All right, he made a abacus, which is a very stupid thing to do because the abacus is inefficient. It uses pebble arithmetic. All right. So Fibonacci, you've heard of Fibonacci. All right, Fibonacci, 13th century. It took them 2 centuries to understand that it is useful for arithmetic, because for commerce, because it's efficient. Then he wrote Liber Abaci, which is based on Al-Khwarizmi's Hisab al-Hind and so on, and gave an oversimplified treatment of Indian Ganit, as it is found in, say, Mahavir's Ganit Sangra. Now, Fibonacci's contents, I will only show you one point. He did not understand. Supposed to be such a bright mathematician. Look at this book. Look at chapter 4. Look at chapter 4. Just look at the title, on the subtraction of lesser numbers from greater numbers. Subtraction of only lesser number from greater numbers, because that is all you can do in pebble arithmetic. You can't subtract, you can't remove more pebbles than are actually there. That is a blunder. All right. So he said there are no negative numbers like algorithm, and such a fool he made of himself. What is it that we are trying to get rid of? What we should point out is that Europeans didn't understand it. They didn't have the brains to understand this simple thing. It took them 1,000 years to understand it. So you can't remove more pebbles than you already have. All right. So, of course, Fibonacci numbers are from India. They are stolen from India. I won't go into that. They had problems with zero and so on. Let me skip that. And Christoph Clavius then imported Indian arithmetic, introduced it in the Jesuit syllabus. That is from where we get it back, which is copied from colonial education. So it's our arithmetic which went there and came back badly understood. Same thing happened to calculus, same thing happened to other things. So this persistent confusion about subtraction. See, Pascal, you heard of Pascal? What did Pascal say? I know people who don't understand that if you subtract 4 from 0, the result will be 0. That's what Pascal is doing. Foolish. Euler, such a great man. What is he saying? He's saying -1 is less than 0, but greater than infinity. He doesn't understand what is -1. All right, he's supposed to be such a great mathematician. Look at De Morgan, 19th century. These are not things which I am inventing. De Morgan's book is available on the archive. Please check it out, that the quotation is correct. He said to believe that -9 is less than 0, it is easier to believe in witches. 10,000 times easier to believe in witches. That's what the stupid chap said. And why are we accepting it? Why are we not exposing it? That these people who came and who talked of colonialism, who said we did this, they did not know anything. So point is, Western math was persistently inferior, and even in the matter of primary school arithmetic from Greek times until 19th century. And then those difficulties are taught, they are reproduced in the classroom on the principle that phylogeny is ontogeny. All right. And so what should we do? The correct thing to do is to discard the Western way of teaching, because they had difficulty. Why should we learn from them? And we should start teaching arithmetic the way it was taught in the traditional texts. And remember that it should have practical value. Now, this is what Mahavir says. This Ganita Sangra, everywhere in trade, economics, science, sex, music, permutations and combination, that is drama, cooking, medicines, everywhere it is useful. So you have to teach mathematics what is used, not say, oh, it is great that it is useless. Right? So I can't go into too many details because I am short of time. So it is necessary to discuss also the difference in the philosophy of government. Why were we able to do it and they were not able to do it? Why did they take so long? Because there is something inferior about Western axiomatic mathematics that we teach today. Also, it started from an inferior thing, the remaining. All right. There's justification of mathematics in the crusade when Euclid first arrived in Europe. But it's how do I talk of these things? See, people don't know the basic history of arithmetic. UGC is putting this out. It shows it doesn't know it. Arthur Krishnamurti did it. I can understand. He was working with the British Empire, fighting the British Empire. So if you are interested, take a look at my second talk in Australia on the invasion of the church into mathematics. This is taking a lot of time. So this is the key point. Math is related to soul by Plato. Then during the Crusades, the church cursed it, then adopted axiomatic proof and so on. There's the abstract, there's the whole presentation up there, which I don't want to go into right now. Point is, your Piranios axioms of all the axioms of formal real numbers are inferior mathematics. And of course, it had to do with the, why are we doing it, by the way? Huh? Why are we doing it? We are so sticking to it as if it is superior. The church cursed the Hindu notion of soul. At least discuss whether it is inferior or superior. All right, that's another long thing. I can't go into it right now. But that's a colonial karma that you fundamentally against, which is against Hinduism. Just keep pushing whatever your netas, whether they are Congress or BJP, tell you to do. Okay, so I think I've taken a lot of time on that. I need to quickly go to the calendar. The calendar involves the physical motions of the sun, the moon, and the tithi, the phase of the moon, the weekday, war, and so on. It's not Vedic astrology. Now, the Greeks were very bad at math. I've already told you that. They could not invent. Proof of that is that the calendar was very bad. All right. So currently you learn the Gregorian calendar. It is totally churchified because for every date that you state, you have to say AD, year of our Lord, BC, before Christ. All right. So we are not told about the year of the Lord Christian calendar. That's the essence of colonial teaching. So it's named after the Julian calendar. Of course, the Romans could not make it. The Julius Caesar had to make it. Let me show you this. That he got an Egyptian priest to make it for him. They did not even understand it for 20 years, that because they did not have fractions. And their own calendar was extremely bad. And you know, very, very obvious, months are 28, 29, 30, 31 days. What kind of months? I mean, it is completely unscientific. No relation to the moon, no relation to anything. Why do you have those months like that? And the Gregorian calendar reform of 1582 still used the leap year system because they did not have fractions. And so they could only work with leap years, which is a very bad primitive system. Now, in contrast, in the Indian calendar, Tithi is defined as the time in which the moon overtakes the sun by 12 degrees. Purnima, the celestial longitude. So, Purnima to Purnima is always 30 Tithis, because 12 into 30 is 360. It's mathematically defined by that. But we refer to the Indian calendar as Hindu calendar. We never refer to the Gregorian calendar as the Christian calendar. All right. And well, this point I wanted to make. Our two secular festivals, Independence Day and Republic Day, are defined only on that religious and unscientific calendar. We should feel happy about it. We don't want to change that. UGC does not want to change that. So what I would like to say is that we should, this attempt has been going on for 20 years. And I have been talking about it. You see, 20 years ago, UGC opened 16 university departments. I was there, Pushpa Bhargav was there, and Raja Ramanna was there. We participated in a debate with the astrologers. And I challenged the UGC at that time in front of the international press to show me one single word, one single verse of astrology in the Vedanga Jyotish. They had never seen the Vedanga Jyotish. They say, where is the choice? The open challenge which they could not meet. So how do they talk of Vedic astrology? What the Vedanga Jyotish says is that Jyotish is Kal Gyan and Kal Vidhan Shastra. There is not a single sentence on astrology or Parit Jyotish. It's just confusing two different words. In fact, traditional astronomy text, not a single astronomy text across 3,000 years from Vedanga Jyotish to Yukti Bhasha, has, or including Varami's Panchasiddhantika, does not have a single sentence on astrology. Why are we teaching astrology? So the confusion, because Jyotish is wrongly understood as astrology. It means timekeeping. It is wrong translation to astrology. So perhaps it is deliberate because the UGC has been pushing it for more than 20 years. Yeah, astrology is a source of money. It's a source of superstition. And maybe the government wants to encourage that. Okay. So what to do? So the correct approach is to stop making a joke of Indian tradition by teaching pseudoscience of astrology and to instead teach the scientific aspects of Indian tradition. You see, Kepler was also an astrologer. He got his living by astrology. Do they teach Kepler's astrology in the name of tradition? They only talk of his science. Of course, that was also borrowed from India. That's a different story. The point is, why are we emphasizing the religious and non-secular aspect? We should emphasize the religious and non-secular aspect of the Gregorian calendar, and we should emphasize the scientific aspect of the Indian calendar. And I'm doing that course in school in Hyderabad next month. For school children, because whatever UGC wants to do, let it do. We will teach what we think is correct, and it requires other things. It requires change in geometry, Raju Ganit, because the sun and moon are not necessarily in a plane. Most of the time, they are not in a plane except near the ecliptic. And how do you measure 3D angles? They don't teach you at school. They assume that all angles are plane because the only thing that they give you is a protractor, which is quite useless for practical purposes. Anyway, so it also helps you to determine local latitude, longitude, size of the earth, etc., which are all involved in the calendar. But they don't teach you that because they want to focus on teaching the Euclid book, which is a book on mystery geometry, religious geometry, which was co-opted by the church. So it's a big task because there is no support from the government. There is no support, limited support from private parties. May happen, may not happen. Let me go to the last topic, which is Kerala calculus. Now, the Wish in his 1832 article on the Indian calculus mentioned only Kerala text. Now, we have taken cognizance of it after 190 years. What kind of people are we? 190 years, and 75 of those years were after independence. So we are now telling, let's go, we are taking cognizance, but that does not mean that calculus originated with the Aryabhat school of Kerala, who only carried forward the work of Aryabhat. But they keep saying Kerala calculus, which is very bad for teaching it, because you can't use infinite series alone to teach calculus. So confusion is due to several reasons. The UGC recommendation only wants to develop a sense of pride in Indian culture, but not to emphasize its current usefulness. If you think it is currently useful, stop teaching calculus the way you teach today with real numbers in IITs. They are not willing to do that because that will create a ruckus, that will create an uproar, and so on. They don't want to do that. Whether that's the right thing or wrong thing, you can decide. But what is the right way to teach the calculus, I can tell you that. So pride can be based on false assumptions, as we have seen in the case of Vedic math and Vedic astrology. Now, calculus was stolen by Newton. I've written a whole book on it, Cultural Foundations of Mathematics. So it is by Pearson. It's a 500-page book. But the point is, it is about transmission of calculus from India to Europe in the 16th century. There's a lot of evidence there. I can't go into it because today we have discussions only for 40 minutes. Going to connect, we'll discuss only for 40 minutes. If you want to go into depth, it will take several days, maybe 40 days easily. So if you're not interested, we can't do that. So point is, how did the West understand the calculus when they could not understand elementary arithmetic? 19th century, De Morgan doesn't understand negative numbers. So how could they understand? They did not understand. So this is an article on epistemic test on how the West did not understand the calculus. All right. It's there, it's available online. I hope it opens. Yes, here it is. Test. So, understand. Well, this is and Newton talked of fluxions, which is complete nonsense. I won't give you the quote, but the fact is that Debunking changed. He introduced real numbers because he said that what we are teaching is not at all scientific. This is saying in 1870. All right. So this is what Debunking is saying. That is how he interpreted that he invented real numbers. And today we say that's the only way to understand it. Where was the way? After all, if India invented it, did they invent it without understanding? Nobody wants to even talk about it. Delhi University, they ran away. Everywhere for the last 10 years, I'm saying, let us have a debate on it. Nobody wants to discuss because nobody understands calculus. Very few people do. Banaras Hindu University chapter, you can't differentiate discontinuous functions. Of course, you can do with the short stereo distribution. I taught it. But anyway, that is what it is. So they are not sure. They don't want to be made fun of. And they don't understand what is being done in Indian tradition. And they don't want to learn about it, just have pride. So it was different. It was Ganita. And we know that Ganita is not part of the Western tradition. Mathematics is. So point is, why are we talking about Ganita? Does it help to teach, make calculus better? Yes, it does. If one focuses on the current use value of IKS, that question would immediately be asked. Does it help to teach calculus better? Of course it does. But the point is, nobody has attempted to teach calculus except for me on the traditional method. And I have taught it in 3 countries, in 5 universities. But in India, great resistance. We will teach traditional notions, but not this, because this will bring us into conflict. And we don't want a conflict with the West. How can you treat traditional knowledge? Is it the same as the Western knowledge? That's all you want to say, whatever we did, not quite the same. Very different, in fact. So, the moment you try to teach, the fact becomes obvious that it is not infinite series. It's about the finite difference technique. How do you solve if you want to send a rocket to the moon? You solve by finite difference equation. Convert it, you solve a differential equation numerically. All right. And so it's no use just talking about infinite series, especially when you do not have a well-explicated criterion of convergence. So the finite difference techniques used by Aryabhatta is still used for all rocket science. I worked on rockets, talking about CDAC, I worked on it. And if you want to send a man to the moon, that is what you have to use, not real numbers. Computer cannot represent real numbers. You do it all on computer. Computer works with 13-point numbers. So anyway, if the UGC unstated objective only to inculcate pride minus use value, of course, people will see the hypocrisy. Everybody can see that. All right. So conflict is bound to arise for another reason, which is that the Brahmins, Kerala school consisted of high caste Brahmins, whereas Aryabhatta was lower caste from Bihar. So I have a whole paper on that. It is published in some what's it? Published by Routledge. It's about Aryabhatta, Dalit, and so on. So you can read through it. Why I am calling him Dalit? It's a long argument, can't go it, because we have only 5 minutes to talk about. How can we go into anything in depth? All right. So the point is, there was no such conflict in the minds of the people who were Aryabhatta's pupils, who accepted Aryabhatta as the guru. And the good part of it is shows that casteism is not innate to India. It began after colonialism. The oppressive form of casteism. Caste was there. So anyway, we should call it Aryabhatta calculus. Now again, the issue of Ganita versus math, because the direct conflict will arise, which has to arise if you are teaching calculus, because Western way of teaching calculus is using real numbers, which are axiomatic. You cannot define real numbers properly without axiomatic set theory and so on. Very few people learn that. Even among mathematicians, very few people learn that. All right. And because it rejects empirical proof. Now, the point is that how calculus is to be taught as Ganit. So I have explained this in great detail. Last month, I was in Australia. And there is again, this is the invited talk that I gave. It is a tweet, but in the tweet, there are links. There is a picture of the abstract. There are links to the abstract. There are links to the presentation, complete presentation. So please take a look. Here is you have the complete presentation here. I won't click it because it will take too long. And it has been, as I said, taught in 3 countries. So don't imagine that countries like Iran and Malaysia will just learn this on the grounds that it is Hindu. They learn it because it's a practical use. So the fact that it is taught there shows that it is a practical use, but we don't seem to want that. We only want pride. So the 3 principles of the new way of teaching calculus are that finite difference technique. Calculus is all about the solution of differential equations. It's not about formulae for integrals and different derivatives. You don't need any of those. Because ultimately, what is integration? It's solution of a differential equation. Which once you know how to solve solutions, you don't need, and that also elementary functions. All the IIT teaching elementary functions, and you teach only differentiation and integration. Then it is about something new. What is the something new which people have not understood? This is the polynomial arithmetic of Brahmagupta. Non-Archimedean is about ordering of polynomials. Now, these idiots who did not understand ordering of integer, who said -9 can't be less than 0, how will they understand this ordering? They did not understand. Khwarizmi did not understand. Fibonacci did not understand. De Morgan did not understand. And so the point is, non-Archimedean means it cannot be real numbers. And the third principle is zeroism, inexactitude. So these are the principles, but the colonized are unwilling even to seriously discuss these differences in a rational way to decide which is better. You need to sit down for 1 week and discuss. And I have asked various people, they are not willing to do it because they are afraid that it will lead to a ruckus. And such a discussion cannot be done in 40 minutes. That's one of the ways to make sure there is no change. Cannot give you a full point within 40 minutes. Look at Shankar and Mandan Mishra. See, the debate went on even when he was covered up to his neck in ash. Still he was willing to debate. Today we are not willing to debate under any circumstances. What is wrong with that? I mean, if something is wrong, bad, let it come out. If something is good, let it come out. Let us devote some time to it if you are concerned about it. So the thing is that the UGC should modify its recommendations. It should keep in mind the use value of tradition. It should not teach unscientific things, pseudo-scientific things, to seek the scientific aspects of the Indian calendar and so on. It should teach the difference in the philosophy of Ganita and math. It can't be assumed. It is not the same. So be true to the tradition. say it is like this and defend it, or say it is like this and reject it. So we should teach authentic history. Rather, today everything invented by early Greeks, and Christian Newton invented calculus, and Stirling did this, and Euler did that, and Archimedes did this, and as I said about Pythagoras and so on. You don't have a single line of evidence. I keep, how many times can I keep challenging? Please ask yourself, how do you believe all this without evidence? So that is indoctrination. You know about Pythagorean theory. Anyway, tradition understood for its use value is not the monopoly of Bharat. So the moment people understand that it has value, like Haldi, the Haldi patent, it will go away. People will grab it. So don't imagine that it is there for you to make up your mind in 190 years. It will go away. And then you will be just left saying, we did it first, that they are doing for Haldi. So that's it. Thank you very much. I hope I've kept to my time. Questions?
Thank you, Professor, for your
Yeah.
this lecture. Any questions?
Yeah.
Any questions from the audience? Thank you, sir. Okay. 1 minute.
Sir, I do not have any question, but your talk today was an eye-opener, and I just want to appreciate the fact that it was a brilliant talk, which gave us a completely different perception of our own things. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Raju, for a nice lecture. From
Sir,
There's another question?
no. I also echo my sentiments with others, a professor from IIT Kharagpur. But my point is that whatever you said, that is excellent, no doubt about that. But government has already come out with its recommendations, and some, like you also said, that IITs and all, they have come out the course structure and all that. What could be the steps now? Do you feel you were talking from the days of Raja Ramanna and all that? So there is obviously a Herculean effort from your side to convince the government that the way which you are thinking, it should be incorporated into their recommendations. Now, at this stage, what is your suggestions to the decision makers of our country, that how to salvage or how to come back, or whatever you are saying that is to be implemented? I really wonder that at this stage,
well,
how can we go ahead?
Was held, the astrologers ran away and the government pulled out. It stopped the 16 university departments. I think one was in Shantiniketan and so on, because people wanted the money. So at that time, it succeeded. Now this has again come back with a vengeance. All of a sudden, Vedic math was going on, Vedic astrology has come back. So we are again opposing. All right. So at that time, the government was weak, because it was what we call coalition government. So they pulled out. The point is, what is my job? I cannot go on influencing people. I'm not a politician, right? I am a knowledgeable person. As a scholar, my job is to spread the truth. And if you don't want the truth, there are so many people spreading untruth everywhere, all over. I can't fight all of them. So my job is to bring out the truth and bring it before people. That is what I will do. Now, to push it into the government is something else. It's for others to do. Everything cannot be my responsibility. All right.
Okay, I think it's a very wonderful and very mind-opening discussion on Indian mathematics and its nuances. And I think Professor Raju is really doing a wonderful work. And I think our group, that is Bharatiya Paramparik Gyan Vigyan Samaj, will be happy to work with you. I mean, I think I had informed that we have formed a national level professional body known as Bharatiya Paramparik Gyan Vigyan Samaj. So I think the onerous work and very important work, what you are doing, we will be very happy to work with you as a group, and let us see that how we can really re-establish the authenticity of the Indian mathematics and other related subjects so that we can manage to put the truth in front of the people and see that how it can be, I mean, with a humble manner, we will do whatever the best. And I'm
Yeah,
really very
yeah.
much thankful to you giving a very wonderful this thing. Let us give him a big hand. And thank you very much. Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. From NITTR Kolkata family, we thank you. No, no. Actually,